in Las Vegas at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He's talking about his plan to lower the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans, going after Republicans on Medicare and Social Security as well. This part of the president's efforts, as you heard him at the end, to say part of the point of his presidency, what he's going to run for re-election on, it seems, is that he's trying to get government to work once again for ordinary people. And certainly the price of prescription drugs is something that so many people feel. And here he is trying to tout that part of the Inflation Reduction Act that does lower the price of prescription drugs, allows Medicare to negotiate for prices. So for more on this, let's bring in ABC News' Elizabeth Schulze at the White House and Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. So first, Elizabeth, this is policy. He's talking about policy accomplishment, but it's also politics. What are your takeaways on both sides of that?
Well, Terry, we heard that line. We've been hearing a lot from the president lately that he wants to finish the job. So focusing on those legislative accomplishments that he's already passed, like the Inflation Reduction Act, and trying to point out exactly how it is going to benefit Americans. So in this instance, talking about lower prescription drug prices, he highlighted how there are 27 prescription drugs whose prices could be lower because those prices were rising faster than inflation. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, you would see a lower price. He talked about price caps on insulin. These are real-world implications for so many Americans, and that's the message that the president is trying to send. But also, clearly, this is a political move. We've heard him kind of reinforce these big victories that he has seen in Congress, in part because of the likelihood that he has big victories like that is so much more slim now that he's in a divided government, Terry.
And Jay, we heard Biden go after Speaker McCarthy again. So what happened there? How important is this? Look, if he wants any more accomplishments, I guess he just assumes that with the Republican House, the way the Republican Party is, and he's not going to get anything passed. But how do you read that dynamic based on what we heard from the president today?
Yeah, you heard Elizabeth say the era of divided government. Welcome to the home of divided government, right? You've got the House in control of Republicans, the Senate in control of Democrats, and as Elizabeth just laid out, it's a much rockier playing field for the president to pass any of his legislative priorities. He kept touting his new budget that he rolled out, but one of the things we've heard repeatedly from House and Senate Republicans is that the president's budget, as president's budgets so often are, is dead on arrival here in the Congress. Now, you asked that question about his interactions with Speaker McCarthy. It's interesting. So the president makes the point in those remarks just there, and he said a version of this before to say, and this is about House Republicans, it's a different breed of cat that's now in charge, saying that they are unlike the Republicans that he used to work with previously when he was in the Senate. But nonetheless, this is a Republican Party that President Biden has to find a way to work with, to raise the debt ceiling, to look at other spending issues, and he's got to find a way to bridge some kind of a gap with Speaker McCarthy and come to some kind of a deal. But we know that Speaker McCarthy, President Biden met a while back on the debt ceiling, kind of the opening salvo of these negotiations, but they haven't met personally since that meeting at the White House so long ago, it seems. So the question hanging over both this building and the White House is, what do these debt ceiling negotiations look like as we go into the summer, Terry?
And Elizabeth, it does seem like this is another campaign speech. You're looking at the president right there. He's in campaign mode. They're pressing the flesh, as they used to say. I don't know if they say that anymore, given the times. But so he's talking about a 2024 run. Have we got a sense when he's actually going to announce it? And also, it does seem to me, following up on what Jay said, that, you know, he's trying to draw a fine line, it seems to me, between what he calls MAGA Republicans, and he mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Republicans who yelled, "You're a liar," at him. He thinks there's a fringe element of the Republican Party, or an element of the Republican Party the public doesn't like, while he can still do business with others. But how do you read that, the politics of his run, and whether or not he can successfully make the argument that he can work with some Republicans?
Well, as far as the timing of an announcement, the First Lady has said pretty much all that's left to figure out is a time and place. But here we are a couple weeks after she said that, still no announcement on the time and place. But it is an expectation that that could be happening within short order, weeks, possibly months. But ultimately, the president has said it is his intention to run, but no final decision has been made. It's something that the White House has continued to repeat until this kind of final timing is set. But ultimately, Terry, the point on how he's going to work with Republicans is that the president really campaigned as someone who wanted to bring back an era of bipartisanship. And that's something that we've been continuing to hear. We heard it in his State of the Union address. So he is still trying to say that he wants to find the common ground with the Republicans who are outside of that kind of MAGA fringe group that he laid out. And he certainly has gone on the attack a little bit more aggressively on some of those members, continuing to bring up the disrespect that he felt at the State of the Union, while saying, I'm still willing to work with those who are maybe a little bit more reasonable.
He is, and it does seem as if he wants that common ground to be his ground, that he believes that the country wants to return to a pragmatic, practical politics like prescription drug prices getting lowered. Elizabeth and Jay, thanks very much there as we see the president in campaign mode, even though he hasn't announced, trying to stir up the crowd a little bit there.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.